You're watching Open Agenda. Here's our host, Joe White.
Welcome to Open Agenda. I'm your host, Joe White. In the studio with me today is Ms. Trish Melvin from Fruitland and Mr. Jim Atkins from Ardella.
Good morning.
Thank you all for coming out.
Yep.
You both were in attendance with me at the September 16th Tuesday council meeting. It was a daytime meeting. Yes. And we want to take the show to update everyone on the social media aspect. We covered that with you a couple weeks ago. And we had some other folks who were there who were going to report on exactly what was said. But, we really watched the exchange amongst the council and talking about the social media post by the teacher and the county executive's reaction to that. There was some talk at the county council meeting, but then I think we got the sermon later, right?
Yeah.
And it was an uncomfortable time.
Yeah, it was.
Especially for some other folks in the audience who almost seemed like they were targeted towards the Councilman James Wynn's message, right?
Uncomfortable and totally unexpected.
Well, also unexpected was, we did talk about chickens.
Yeah, we did.
And
we did.
What a transition, right?
Oh, yes, I'll tell you.
And you were misquoted. I want to talk about this later, but you were misquoted by the county executive in the work session, right?
Called out and misquoted at the same time. So.
And we're gonna play the videos.
Okay.
So we're gonna get to the bottom of that.
Sure.
Would both of you stick around? I actually want to bring in the Joes. We've never had a chance to film a segment with just a bunch of Joes, and I promise we'll do a good job. But if you would, I'd like to come back because I want to get some of your feelings from what they had to say and also just what you saw at the council meeting.
Okay.
All right?
Of course.
So stay with us. When we come back, we're going to present to you 3 Joes. So stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Open Agenda. In the studio with me now is Dr. Joe Venosa from Salisbury, and Mr. Joe Scafino from Salisbury. This is an above average number of Joes in one show.
You stole my joke, Joe.
Oh, is that what you were going to say? Well,
What do you think, Joe? Do you agree with Joe?
Sure.
all right. Well, the Joes agree. So we need to talk a little bit about the social media stuff we started talking about several weeks ago, because our county executive has definitely used social media as a weapon. Whether you agree with her or not on the nature of that teacher's post, and look, at the very least, it's in really poor taste. And that's my opinion. But there are some people who want to enact, county code or Board of Education code that would say you can't do that. But at the very least, can we agree that social media is not the place to discuss this?
Correct. I agree.
Yeah.
And just talk about your background a little bit, Joe. You've been on councils before, right?
Yeah, I've served, I was 8 years a councilman, 3 as a vice president.
Okay.
I also have a background in law. I'm a certified paralegal, so I can
Okay.
delve into First Amendment issues, free speech issues.
So when you were vice president of the council up in Pennsylvania, were you ever angered by something?
Sure. You got people in the audience that don't agree with you, and some of them will attack you, verbally. But as an elected official, that's part of the job.
Okay.
You don't go on social media and attack back.
Clearly, some people in Wycomico County haven't followed that wisdom. But.
So, Dr. Venosa, I want to ask you, what actually transpired from the comment that the teacher made and the reaction from the county executive?
Sure. So my understanding is the day of the assassination, a local teacher posted on Facebook a meme that basically mocked this public figure's assassination.
Attributing it to Donald Trump and his cover-up of
the Epstein files. Yeah. It was kind of basically saying, okay, you have to take one for the team because I'm getting bad media coverage over the Epstein connection. So I think we all would agree it was pretty bad taste and certainly not well timed. But here's the thing. The county executive, as the head of the Wycomico County government, publicly stated that this teacher should be forced to resign. I guess that would be fired then. I don't know, because if you force somebody to resign,
it is fired. At least in baseball.
At least in baseball, yeah. So she wants this teacher fired, and also stated though that in part because he was inciting violence. Now,
What violence did he incite?
exactly. Well, and if you read the English language and see the meme, you'll know that he didn't do that. Again, we're not in disagreement that it was in bad taste, but he certainly did not issue a call for violence. It's not as if he posted pictures of guns after a mass shooting like some other former teachers did.
But she actually called his name out.
She did, and this is the issue, is that apart from the fact that she has been a teacher for several years in the county and should know the policies and protocols, which she has now violated, she's opening up the county to a tremendous civil liability.
You think so? I mean, you think
I
that
absolutely agree. Yes.
So if that was to happen, would that delay any personnel repercussions that this teacher might have by breaking the county policy, the Board of Education policy on social media?
Based on my legal background, I would say yes.
Okay, so that would be justice not served in itself, right?
Absolutely.
And of course, this is also tied to the fact that because there seems to be a local blogger who acts as a quasi-arm of government communication, who also spread out this teacher's name and personal information, it would seem. And it is my understanding that this teacher and his family have gotten direct threats. So if I'm sitting in the position of this person who is now being targeted by the executive and certain bloggers, I might want to consider contacting my attorney to file a different lawsuit.
Well, and we've dealt with that during the Question A campaign. Our addresses were posted by the same blogger, by some other folks in that circle. Inciting violence, even if you think you're in the right, is still the wrong thing to do.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
so
Yeah. I did just want to say this, and I don't know if they're watching, but I actually really, this has been, I've talked to some people in the past about my own experiences with, not just with having your address posted, but, kind of being politically targeted in your job for things you may or may not do. And so I have tremendous sympathy for the teacher's family, especially.
Yeah.
Again, and it's my understanding that this teacher has quite a glowing reputation in the community as a teacher. Again, I don't judge a person by one ill-advised social media comment. That would be the definition of cancel culture. But I think the community is going to find out in the coming weeks that there's a lot more to this story regarding the executive's actions and what's motivating her than just this post.
and she was allowed to retract and apologize for the email she sent out from her Board of Education email during her campaign.
Yeah,
and I mean, it was a mistake.
Yeah, and
she apologized.
In 2022, the then teacher at Bennett, Julie Giordano, used government, i.e. public school email server address for a fundraising email. That, you could argue, is more of a fireable offense than what occurred regarding this other teacher. But she apologized, and good for her, she was allowed to keep her job. So it's interesting that we don't extend the same grace to others.
Well, so Joe, I mean, you're a public figure as far as that the interface with your students.
Sure.
And obviously, there's going to be times where you anger a student.
Sure.
So, I mean, what's your way of handling that? And what role does social media play in that at all?
Well, in terms of how it affects my relationship with my students, it should have no role because that's out of the classroom.
Okay.
So, I teach history. So those, ideally, when you have engaged students and you have great discussions and yes, disagreements, sometimes not, often it's between students because you're getting material and you're debating or trying to understand an issue. That's actually what you want. The question is, you keep it within the confines of the issue, and you certainly don't then take those things and then try to weaponize a social media post to say, John is a Stalinist because he read this document in a certain way that, seems to support the Soviets, or this person is a Nazi because they, mention that the Nazis did infrastructure good or something. These are crazy hypotheticals.
They're very hyperbole, right?
They're very hyperbole. But even my students, I don't think would ever go the length that some of our local officials have gone to go out on social media, make posts that have real legal ramifications, let alone physical safety concerns for certain people, and do it in this manner. It is beyond reckless. It's embarrassing. It's a disaster as far as I'm concerned. I think Councilman Merritt put it very well. He says, if you're looking at the county from the outside and you're going to come here and you're thinking of teaching or opening a business and you're worried about certain officials like the county executive threatening you perhaps or seemingly encouraging threats, why would you come here?
Yeah. Okay, well, let's talk about what the process probably should be. I mean, we have a superintendent of schools and we have a school board.
Yep.
Personnel matters. Is that the confines they need to be to stay in?
Absolutely. I mean, this clearly falls into a personnel matter that the school will address. And what's so nefarious about this is the executive knows this because she's been on the other end of this too.
The rhetoric, I mean, that is starting to pile up and has already had some violent ramifications.
Sure.
I mean, last week, a young child watched their father get killed right in front of them. Who cares what political beliefs they have?
Well,
whether I agree with them and you don't, or whatever, that's the truth.
And not only that, young children in this county who have parents that are teachers who've been targeted by certain officials have also, is my understanding, received or witnessed certain threats.
Yeah.
And I think, hypothetically, if I'm a teacher who's been targeted by a government official and it's led to direct threats, I definitely would imagine I'd be meeting with some attorneys.
So we were looking for someone to save us. Would it be Councilman James Nguyen? Because it seemed like he was trying to at the last council meeting.
Oh, he's definitely trying to save us. Not maybe in the way that I would hope.
Okay.
But
Joe, you were at this meeting as well, right?
I sure was. I almost fell out of my chair.
I brought something important here today, that we've got some people in this audience and in this council that are trying to figure out what is going on in the world. Why is this happening? Why the craziness, right? I hear it up here, and I'm telling you, it's because people are falling away from the word, from Christ. And it's actually, everything's right here, the answers. This is truth. You've got the beginning, you've got the present, and you've got the ending written right here. It's all here. It's already in 2 Thessalonians, where there will be a falling away. And I have a few scriptures that I'd like to read, if that's okay. Romans 8:28, and we know that all things work together for good to them, that God, to them who are the called according to his purpose. Now, that's powerful, but we have to understand that, yes, Charlie Kirk was a political commentator, but he got his politics based off of this book. If you watch him, if you read this book and you listen to what he's actually saying, it resonates. And I just want everybody to really think about this. I know not everyone here is a Christian, and that's okay. I'll pray for you. And, there's only one way. There's only one way. And that's through Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior.
It also says...
Excuse me, ma'am. I'm sorry.
The light
Ma'am.
of the world, the resurrection and the way, the true life. Jesus spoke of love. And what we're seeing in government right now in the White House, it's not love. It's not love, and it's not the way Jesus taught.
Any other?
You watch the
Ma'am, excuse me, but you are out of order. Apologize.
I completely understand Councilman Nguyen's dedication to his faith, and him using even a scripture to have just explain how he's going about the process of decisions he's making. I find that fine. But there were 5 scriptures read at the meeting, 5, and then I think what really was the coup de grace overall of it was when he stated that, well, many of you aren't Christian, and don't worry, I'll still pray for you, as if to say, from a governing table, you're not of equal, right?
Absolutely.
So, I mean...
Well, and he also made, I believe the point, he said there's only one way, which, if I'm looking at that literally, that means the government is saying there's an official religion. There's only one way, because he's a government official in that context. This is not Jimmy Wynn and Joe Venosa hanging out at the bar debating theology.
Right.
This is the government saying to me, you're not from his perspective, you're not a Christian. I will pray for you because there is only one religion, there is only one way, and I'm going to say that in this government office.
So let's talk about history for a second. In historical context, there have been other government types that have had that ideology.
Sure.
How do you characterize those governments in general over the years? Are they open? Are they closed?
Well, it's always been in global history very difficult to separate religion or spirituality from politics. That's not really. I mean, that's the norm, so to speak. You can make the argument, and again, there's great debate. There's actually a great documentary that Ken Burns is making right now on the American Revolution, where this comes up. So, plug for Ken Burns' documentary, perhaps. But one of the interesting things about the American Revolution, and in particular the Constitution, right, is that many of our founding fathers were deists. They weren't particularly religious in their private lives. Some were, but the First Amendment was a unique radical thing, in part because it made the separation between religion and government in writing, in part because they had seen that other governments had really blended those roles in ways that were dangerous, because many people that came to the Americas fled from state persecution of religious minorities. You think of the Quakers in Pennsylvania, the Catholics initially in Maryland, the Huguenots. And so, as a historian, and again, my own personal view is I'm not a Christian. I'm not really religious. I'm sort of an agnostic. I think being a rabid atheist is to some extent just as sort of dangerous as being a rabid theological person, because you're both certain about something. Yeah. So that's my view as a person. Nevertheless, I think historically you can make some good arguments that anytime you have the government stepping on your religious liberties and dictating a faith, and also perhaps dictating what you can and can't say, it doesn't end well.
So, Joe, I mean, you're talking about your legal background,
right?
And you've been very involved in politics. You were at this meeting. What legal ramifications do you see from Councilman Wynn's comments and just how that went down?
Well, it really depends on how it's handled from here on out. Does the council president and Mr. Wynn address it at the next meeting? Do they admit it was a mistake? Or do they double down? I think that's that's going to determine where it goes from here. There have been plenty of lawsuits here in the Fourth Circuit courts addressing this issue. The citizens come to a secular public meeting. We don't come as Christians, as Jews, as Muslims, agnostics. We come as citizens of the county. So, to be forced to sit there and listen to somebody proselytize about their faith is impermissible. It's wrong.
Gentlemen will be continuing to attend council meetings, and be interested to see if there is some sort of retraction or censure that will come out of this.
I have written a letter and it's gone to every councilman as of yesterday.
Okay.
So I've gotten one response from one councilman. I won't name names. Hopefully he'll go public with what he said in the letter, that he agreed with my what I wrote. So we'll see.
Okay. Well, thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate it. Thanks for watching this segment of Open Agenda. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Open Agenda. Thank you for banning chickens, Mr. Jim Atkins.
No problem. I'm all in favor of chickens.
You do like chickens?
I do like chickens.
And not just on your plate?
That's right. I like chickens. Grandmother had a yard full of them when I was a little child, and I've taken chickens from A to Z, so I know all about them.
Well, county executive at the work session said that you wanted to ban chickens.
First and foremost, I just wanted to comment on Mr. Atkins' comment. We are not looking to ban chickens at all, so I'm not really sure where that came from. That is not what we are trying to do at all, so I want to put that on the record.
Jim Atkins, Wacomico County. Let's talk about chickens. Anybody want to talk about chickens?
Yeah. Let's hear it.
We live on the eastern shore of Maryland. If it wasn't for chickens, there wouldn't be a whole lot of things going on around here anymore. But all of a sudden, the executive branch is concerned about chickens in residential areas. think the county needs to stay away from this. You have approximately 50% of the county lives in a municipality. If the municipality doesn't want chickens in their yards, let them handle it. A lot of the developments have homeowners associations that have bylaws that don't allow you to have chickens in the yard. Why does the county need to worry about this? It took a year approximately to get the county to do something about a dog kennel in Sharptown that had 60 dogs in it. And now we're going to worry about chickens. The county's worried about 3 new liquor legislation requests. The county executive's worried about removing the decals from her cars due to her fear of safety after last week. Well, she never wanted the decals on the car to begin with. But now she's got a reason to take them off. The county has a reason, council has a reason, since she is in violation of legislation enacted by the county council, to take her car away from her. So let's either get the decals on the car, or she can use her personal car to drive back and forth to work. That's what she said, and I didn't think I said that, so I had to wait until it came out on PAC 14 so I could go back and watch it. And once again, the county executive misstated something, because in my public comments, the word ban was never mentioned at all. But according to our county executive, I want to ban chickens. I want to make sure that they fully understand I have nothing against chickens.
And one of your points is you would like to see a second public comment section during the work session, similar to what the city council does.
Yes, I have asked for that numerous times, and with the county council president, vice president, and I just have a hard time that in an open work session, people are allowed that are presenting to sit there and say anything they want to say, but that the audience has no chance to challenge them or rebut what they're saying when they say something that's untrue. The only option you have is to wait a minimum of 2 weeks, sometimes 3 weeks, until the next council meeting to stand up there and say what needs to be said.
Well, just talking about what you said and how things should be put out in public, you were just here a couple weeks ago and we talked about social media, the use of that. And now, just 2 weeks later, as we heard from the two Joes, we have this glaring example of the misuse of social media, talking about human resource personnel matters in open source.
Yeah, I mean, a couple of weeks ago I was talking about my opinion about social media, how it's very detrimental to a lot of people and society at large. And I think it can break people's minds. It sounds like the teacher that we're talking about has a good history, good record, probably spends too much time on Facebook, was triggered by something and compelled to make an ill-advised post. I don't blame it so much on the teacher as having their mind affected by social media.
Well, it was a choice they made to be on there, and they did hit that button. And there is ramifications. Mm-hmm. But any of us would want that to be done properly.
Yeah, yes, right? and the very interesting part to me is she got involved in something that she had no business getting involved with on social media, dealing with the policy of the Board of Education and a teacher, and putting it out there in the public sphere for everyone to know and see. But when the county deals with an employee, there is a closed work session for the privacy of the employee. So, we're doing this on one hand for the county employees, but on the other hand, a teacher or any person in the county, if she decides that she wants to throw a dart at them, there she goes.
Well, now the dart's gone, so it's out.
Wholly inappropriate, from the get-go on everybody's part.
And then, speaking of that too, I mean, you were there when Councilman Nguyen really turned the council table into a pulpit, and it was uncomfortable for a lot of folks there. What would you say was the mood of the council meeting prior to that, and then how did it shift when he really started to to give the sermon?
It was a fairly standard meeting, nothing unusual, fairly routine. And even Mr. Wynn's initial comments were proceeding normally, but he did pull out the Bible, a lot of little sticky yellow pages in it, and I thought, oh no, what's happening? And then he did start the sermon, and I was uncomfortable. The audience, or the people in the meeting, the citizens, were uncomfortable, and we started looking at each other. And then when certain things were said, I thought best for me just to leave, which I did.
And really, you were there to talk about the 287G. You were hoping to find out more information. There wasn't anything on the agenda. I mean, there was never a chance to ask questions about the thing you were actually most hopeful to get information on.
Well, not only just me, I think the council, more important than me, I think the council was hoping to get some information. And my understanding is that the executive was invited to the meeting on Tuesday, but didn't come for the first part, but only showed up to talk about the chicken issue.
And you have a nice presentation that you presented during your public comments. I mean, you went through and did the math. And
well, I like a puzzle and I like a challenge. Okay. I dig in. I often don't let go. So for me, I like to investigate things like that. But I shouldn't have to.
Yeah.
And I think when people start being evasive and you're getting contradictory stories, that just compels people to be curious and keep looking.
I will say, if this county executive has inspired anything, she has inspired a large number of citizens to get much more involved in their government.
She doesn't address important things in front of the council. She says for her emotional well-being that she can't deal with the council. But the landfill is one of the major things that happened here recently about the landfill possibly being closed. It all started with the rate increases in June. Well, in June through August, there were 5 council meetings in which the landfill was discussed, about what was going to happen to it, what needed to happen, and how quickly it needed to happen. She chose not to appear for either council meeting concerning the landfill, which concerns every citizen in the county. She held a press conference and notified everybody of one of the meetings on June the 15th, and then she went to D.C. to take a tour through the White House, because that was more important. So now here she comes. She wants to talk about chickens, how many chickens, and what you can do. And I brought up the subject Tuesday. It took the county almost a year to do something about the dog problem, kennel problem,
kennel
in Sharptown, with 60 dogs there. We need in this county a nuisance violation, which you don't have to specify chickens, dogs, cows, horses. If it's a nuisance and it's caused a nuisance, then the county should be able to act on it. They talked a little bit about noise violations. Well, I never realized, and I found out when the dog issue was going on in Sharptown,
we don't have one.
Wacomico County doesn't have a noise violation.
Yeah, a lot of counties do.
Yeah, so I mean,
it's an acute and a static.
Yeah, so and, I mean, you can address a myriad of problems with a nuisance ordinance instead of chickens today, pigeons next week, and geese. I mean, they talk about Canadian geese. Well, you're not going to do anything about Canadian geese unless you get the federal wildlife people involved, and they come down and tell you how to handle it or what they'll do to sterilize the eggs or get rid of the geese. But just my thing is, we need to stop calling these Canadian geese.
Maybe
they're not Canadian geese.
Maybe Julie. Maybe Julie wants to fight the Canadians while Donald Trump is fighting the Mexicans.
Well, that may be, but these geese are not Canadian geese. They've never been to Canada.
Yeah.
They were born and raised
Here.
They're American geese. They're not Canadian geese. They're American geese.
Well, Jim, thanks for not
Yes,
through
yeah.
that.
Here's to the chickens on the Eastern Shore.
All right. Well, thanks for watching this episode
Enjoy.
of Open Agenda. We'll be back next week with another new episode.
Love a chicken.
Below average, Joe's. Where the heck is Pyrite?